This next question is for all of the candidates. And we will start with Mr. Jeff Foster. On the dam, why not dump tons of rock down at the leak and then concrete?
This sounds an awful lot like the aquatic vegetation question. I don't have the foggiest idea. I don't profess to be a structural engineer. I don't profess to be a water manager. I profess that I can take skills to the board level to be able to take the input, get the answers, get the story from staff, the experts, do my own research, and then based on the question put in front of me, make a vote accordingly.
Mr. Bailey, on the dam, why not dump 2 tons of rock down the leak and then concrete?
Well, there's probably a lot of good reasons. I would kind of second on what Jeff said about not being a structural engineer, but on the other hand, I've had a considerable amount of experience in construction and moving earth and rock and various other things. The first question that I have in my mind is, what the real problem is. It leaks, but do we know where? There's a whole bunch of unknowns. Do we need the dam? I asked that question before, and Mr. Covey said that in the event of a big water year, meaning a 100-year flood, we need the dam. Well, the real simple solution is you put a dip in the road there with a concrete spillway on it so that there's an emergency overflow. I mean, we're right back to the question, do we need the dam? If we need it and it affects our irrigation right, if the Bureau Dam will not handle normal operations, normal raising and lowering of the lake, then I say we take a look at the dam, but we have other options there as well. Maybe a siphon would be more efficient and more effective than the dam. What is the cost of all of these things? And it's easy to say that we're going to get a grant, but you guys out there and us up here, we're all ratepayers. And if you want a $2 or $3 or $4 million dam hanging around your neck that maybe we don't need, why, then that's one way to go. But I'm saying we need to determine whether or not we really need that. And if we don't, then what are the options and what can we do to protect the lake in the event of a big water year?
I'm going to take just a moment here for a special announcement. Hopefully this is not the vehicle of one of the candidates. We have a gray blue van, Dodge minivan in the parking lot with your back wide open. So that's one of your vehicles. You might want to check that out. The back is wide open. Okay, Mr. Skog, on the dam, why not dump tons of rock down the leak and then concrete?
Well, I'm going to follow with Jeff and Bill. I don't have a clue why not. But then I don't have a clue why either. So obviously that needs to be studied. I would probably tend to lean more towards resolving the question first of all, do we need it? And then if we do, let's go for it. But I remember what fun it was to hit the dip on O'Sullivan Dam as a kid. That was kind of fun. Maybe another one of those would be fun. I don't know. It needs some look, but I would question the sense of urgency that says by March of 2014 there needs to be another dam. I just don't see us moving that quickly and making rational and prudent decisions and saying we're going to slam something in that quick and be done with it. I think it needs a whole lot more look than that. And I personally don't understand that sense of urgency.
Mr. Covey, on the dam, why not dump tons of rock down the leak and then concrete?
Well, that sounds like an easy fix. When it was first determined that the dam was not functioning properly, and there were sinkholes on the roadway above the dam, we went out and did some, what they call core samples, and we, like in Florida, where you see these houses falling into the earth, well, that's what happened all over the top of the dam. So they put up roadblocks where cars could not travel over them because the weight of a car could have sunk in to these holes. We have been told by the dam inspector, and that's D-A-M-N, out of Olympia, that we definitely need a new dam. We've been told that from our engineering consultants that we've worked with for a number of years out of Spokane, they're the Strata Engineering Group, that we do need to replace the dam. It may not be in our best interest to rebuild the current dam, but we might need to move a little bit east of it. The Bureau has said their dam cannot handle the water flows of Moses Lake. And because of the 50,000 acre feet of water, which is essentially the top 10 feet of water in the lake, which is MLIRDs, in order to keep our water rights, we feel it's very important that we do what the specialists, what people in the know, the engineers, the inspectors have told us. So, again, the dam is very important with regard to water flows on the lake. And the Bureau, all of the state agencies, Strata has all supported that, along with our Congress people. So they're going to provide the funding from the federal government. We can't do it internally.
Mr. Larry Tracy, on the dam, why not dump tons of rock down the leak and then concrete?
Well, just practically, that's not going to work. I don't think. I'm not an engineer, but at the same time, another thing that comes into play here, you've got to look at these administrative agencies that are going to have a decision in how things are done. And now you're running in the Army Corps of Engineers, and they're going to tell you what you're going to be able to do and what you're not going to be able to do in that area. Moses Lake, for some reason way back when, I recall looking at this, and Moses Lake has been categorized as a navigable waterway. And being a navigable waterway, that brings in almost everything you do along the shorelines with the Corps of Engineers. And so you're not going to just go in and dump stuff and do things like that. You're going to have to go through all the permitting processes with all the people that need to be dealt with. And you're going to have to deal with all those agencies. But at the same time, the dam itself, from what Ron Coley has said, it makes sense to me that it has to be reviewed and it has to be determined, as Bill Bailey has said, whether or not it is really necessary. Ron believes it is. I have a tendency to think it is necessary for the benefit of the entire lake and the entire system. But that's as much as I can really say on it without seeing all the engineering recommendations and stuff like that.
And Mrs. Mary Perry, on the dam, why not dump tons of rock down the leak and then concrete?
Well, I'll have to agree with most of the others. I'm not an engineer. I have read some of the engineering reports. I can't say that I understand them. That's just not my area of expertise. But I have to rely on what they are saying. And what I have read from Strata and from reports from the agencies, it appears that the dam has to be replaced. And the method of dumping rocks and concrete doesn't seem to be a viable option at this time. This dam was built in 1929 as a replacement for what they called a crib dam. It was logs that had been laid across. It was designed for the traffic then. Since that time, we've had farm equipment, we have many vehicles and all of that. It was given that it was going to fail sometime just because of it was not meeting the traffic needs that we currently have. And that made the ground shift, and consequently we had a failed dam. But as far as engineering stuff, I have to rely on what the engineers say.